Welcome to Coffee and Communication 8 a.m. And today we are going to have one of the most important discussion that you would want to listen. And I have a chief guest with me who is going to help us understand and decode the importance of communication, especially in your career growth. He is a global talent acquisition leader driving growth in tech, engineering, and sales. He has worked across the countries Europe, India, USA, and he is also Hogan certified. He has the years of experience, which is going to help us understand the importance of communication in your career growth, in your interview, and especially in your leadership journey. Help me welcome Asrar Moidin onto the stage. Asrar
Hey,
sir, thank you so much for being here with us.
thank you for having me here, Yogeshwari. And yes, I think this is our second podcast together. So clearly, I didn't mess up the first time. And I'm really looking forward to a fruitful discussion today.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'll directly jump onto the question, very crucial, important question that most of the leaders they ask. When it
Mhm.
comes to communication, we all think that technical skill is something that I have to develop. It is important in today's world. And we completely keep communication aside and probably ignore until we feel the need for it. And one time, what happens is when we attend interview, especially leadership positions, we ace in technical skills, but we miss out on communication. Please help us understand the importance of communication during interviews, especially for mid-career professionals.
Yeah, it's a very good question, Yogeshwari. To start with, let me just talk about generally, what communication plays a major role, right? Communication plays a huge role in our day-to-day life as well. In case, now you are even interacting, like we are communicating to each other. I think honestly, without communication, our homes, our jobs, or even simple daily tasks, we'll find it very difficult to do it. So we communicate with our family, friends, colleagues, and sometimes with complete strangers as well. So trying to explain what we actually want is going to be a major thing, right? So in corporate world, communication becomes even more critical. It's just about talking, it's about influencing people, aligning and bringing people together. So if you're able to communicate, it's going to be much more easier for you to influence your team, the collaboration, another thing, and it will also create a lot of trust as well. For a leadership, communication plays a major role, right? So it depends on how well you communicate, that plays a major role. So that's one thing which I spoke about in the past. Like one of the best investment anyone can make is improving their communication skill. So that is again, it's kind of an investment what we are talking about. Even Warren Buffett says it can increase your value by 50%. That's probably the only skill you can upgrade, and such a high return and no EMI, right? So good communication build trust, help solve problems, they become disasters, and mostly importantly, it creates a positive and healthy work environment. So I believe that communication plays a major role, and it's very, very important, especially at a leadership level. It's not necessarily that communication means that you have to talk. Sometimes communication also depends upon how you present yourself in terms of your presentation, because the management or the board may not have much time in terms of what you are communicating. So it at times it reflects in terms of your presentation as well. So how you're going to present yourself in your presentation, whether you're talking about the impact what you've done to the business, and what is the cost effective measures you're taken, and all those things plays a major role. So communication, not necessarily it is when you talk at a leadership level, it also depends upon your informal way of communication and also the presentation. Everything plays a major role here, Yogeshwari.
Okay. So when it comes to the presentation, I would like to take one simple segment. Let's just say a panel of interviewers are sitting and an interviewee is sitting. One of the interviewers, they are asking a question, and obviously the interviewer is giving the answer. What kind of communication or what kind of answers would you, if you are sitting in the panel, would you expect and would you appreciate?
Okay, so again, it's a very interesting question what you asked, because quite a lot of people actually fail, especially at leadership level, right? You're talking about leadership. And what happens is, most of them, what they tend to do is like they talk about the entire experience, They talk about their CV and it goes like a Wikipedia a profile, right? Which is actually not what the interviewer might like it. So what rather you need to talk about is what is that impact you have brought to the business, right? What is the decision you made that actually helped the business to grow? What you have contributed to take the company to the next level? These are the major points what you need to talk, rather than talking the entire CV, entire experience, which people may not be interested, right? So you have to be brief. And very honestly speaking, Yogeshwari, even the best of the interviews, the senior level interviews, maximum what is the time you will have for an interview session? Maybe 1 hour, not more than that, right? So in this 1 hour, if you're going to take most of your time explaining about your entire CV, I think half an hour of your time is gone, right? For me, especially with 19 plus years of experience, say close to 2 decades, if I'm going to explain from scratch what I did, starting from where I started from UK experience till now, then I don't think we will have time for this discussion, right? Because time is very, very important. So we have to be very critical of what we need to convey to the interviewer, especially during leadership discussion. Some of them fail there because they tend to over explain things which is actually not required, and that will create a lot of misunderstanding as well. So you have to be very precise, you have to be very brief, you need to talk on those things, the impact in terms of your contribution, in terms of what decisions you have made. These are the things what you need to talk during those discussions, and you need to keep it very short and brief. And if they're if they can give you more time, then probably you could just tell them that, like, okay, if you want me to elaborate, I'm happy to elaborate. So otherwise, I think we need to keep it very short, is what I would suggest.
Okay, okay. So when you said brief and short, it also requires structure. And when you were mentioning that, do not give me the entire history of your work, rather just talk about the exact thing that we are looking for, whatever the answer demands, whatever the question demands. So it would have a structure, perhaps. Maybe that structure might include starting with addressing the problem directly. Let's just say in a leadership interview, one behavioral question or a situational question appears. What would you do in this situation? What would you do in that situation? So, directly first starting with addressing the problem and then helping the interviewers understand one situation and moving ahead with probably how in future that person is getting prepared to address furthermore problems. Am I right, or is there
Absolutely.
any?
No, you are absolutely, and I think you have hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's absolutely right what you just said. Most of the time, what happens is, Yogeshwari, the interviewer will be asking you some question, and probably you will be answering something which is not actually required, right? Some of them make that mistake because they might go off track. In terms of the question, they might go on explaining something else, but the interviewer might be expecting some answers which they want to hear, right? As you rightly mentioned, the problem solving thing, probably they could just directly deep dive and talk about those things, rather what if the interview is talking about the entire CV? I think it doesn't make any sense, right? So you have to be very direct to what exactly is expected. It's always better to give with an example, so that plays a major role. So for example, you could say, in terms of talent acquisition, if someone is asking, okay, tell me what is offer to joining ratio, and if I go on talking about how I make offers, what requirements I'm working, and how I go about doing the interview process, it's not going to help. All I need to say is my offer to ratio is okay, so this is what I do, in terms of offer to ratio. I offer 10 candidates, and there are 7 candidates who will join, and 3 candidates drop out, so and so reason. And compared to market, we are almost like 30% success rate in terms of offer to join ratio. So that kind of minute detail will help, and then probably they might probe you next question, how do you do that, right? Then probably you need to tell that I have done a lot of recruitment projects, we have a lot of connects post offer and other things. So that is how you need to able to interact with the interviewer, and you need to also have a control with the interviewer, so that you will know what kind of question you can expect next. So that
Okay.
plays a major role.
Okay. So here, just to decode your offer to joining ratio,
Hmm,
I'm able to understand that first you directly gave a statement. This is my offer to joining ratio. And then
correct.
you went ahead talking about the reason why these many dropouts happen. And
Correct.
then you highlighted your achievement in terms of numbers, which is
Correct.
30% ahead of the industry standard, and you stop there. Only if the interviewer probes you further to talk about how do you do that, then you go about explaining the process and everything.
Correct, because I'm creating a curiosity, right? So the interviewer now, as being an interviewer, he'll be very curious to know, hey, how did he achieve that? Because there are quite a lot of companies who are doing it, and the market trend right now, currently, what we are seeing is that 55% join offer versus joiner ratio, and how he can do it much better. How is this ratio is 84? Let's deep dive and ask more question. So you will be well prepared, and you will have a data to back up with. In case if you have those data, probably you could share your screen and you can also show what you've done, or probably you could explain rather than showing it. You could just say how you have done it. So that creates a lot of curiosity, because that could be the pain point for them. So even before going to an interview, as a leadership, what you need to do is you need to do a lot of research about the company for which you are applying for. This is again a sad reality now, Yogeshwari, because quite a lot of candidates, what happens, either it's leadership or junior level or mid level, they go and attend different interviews and they don't even know for which company they are actually applying for. And especially when you talk about startup, and they come to the interview, they ask, could you just tell me more about your company, which is even more embarrassing, right? For example, if you have a budget, if you have to buy a bike, what you normally do, you don't go directly to like a showroom and you buy a bike, right? You do a research, whether I have get a mileage, what is the design, what is the service, how I'm going to get the service and other thing, and what is the brand and all those things, right? But when it comes to job, I think that's where people fail, because they don't do research. So that is a hard reality as well, because we have to go back and explain them. So that is, some of them do their research and come back, it is much more easier for them to speak, and we will able to relate, right? So that is something quite interesting, I would say. So I think that is where quite a lot of people fail. You need to do a lot of research even before going for a discussion. What company you're going for, what is that company, it's a product or service, what they do, all those things play a major role.
Okay. So imagine you are having a set of interviews lined up, and let's just say five candidates are there, and three of them they are well researched, or I'll just take two candidates are there. One, he comes well researched, prepared about the company, knows what to answer and everything. The other one is technically sound, having a lot of experience. You know that the track record of that person is great, but communication is not so great. Probably he didn't even do the research, or maybe when he's answering, he's not on to the point. Whom would you prefer?
See, again, it's a very subjective thing, Yogeshwari, because one who has the skill, but he's not able to communicate, it's going to be a challenge, right? Because at the same time, we don't want to hire someone who doesn't have that hard skill, especially in terms of technical skills, and who has excellent communication skill, because that will also be an issue. So
Mhm.
this is where we know we need to be very careful whom we hire, because one wrong hire is going to cost a lot to the company, and the ROI is also going to be really, really bad, right? So sometimes you need to take a judgment. That's where AI cannot help, right? Because that's why human interference is very important, and which AI could not do it, because AI will tell you that this guy is really strong in terms of technical skills. But what we need to look is like, what is that your organization is looking for, whether this role, even if this guy is going to interact only with the Indian stakeholders, or is going to only interact with internal team member, it's fine. Probably you could take a risk saying that, okay, and probably you can give a room for improvement for him to improve in terms of his communication skills. But if it's going to be at a leadership level, it's very challenging, right? Because one who has got excellent communication skill but no technical skill, one
Uh,
who has got, yeah.
yes, not about no technical skill. Let's just say compared to both, one person has 70% technical skill, the other one has 90% strong in technical skill. So here is the range. The
Okay,
range is
then
quite low.
Yeah, in that case, I would definitely say 70% technical skill with good comm skills is what we will look at, because that is very important. You will be able to communicate with different stakeholder, because today the world doesn't operate within your office walls itself, right? We are spread across different countries. Quite a lot of people are doing it. So this is what happens, Yogeshwari. Quite a lot of people these days, they come and tell me, like Ashra, there are a lot of companies who are hiring people without communication skills, especially in terms of coding and other thing, because hard skills is what look at. Yes, I agree to some extent. There are some companies who are doing it, especially like startups. Some companies, I don't want to name it because it will become more like conflict might come in the future. So but there are companies, right, startup, there are a number of startups which has come over the past 4 5 years, and they are not looking the candidate to have an excellent communication skills, or even for that matter any educational qualification. All they look at is whether they can code, they have the technical skills. But over the period of time, what happens is like they will not able to grow in the corporate ladder because they lack the communication skill. And after 3 or 4 years, when they look out for a job opportunity, they really struggle, because they expect that the experience will speak for itself during the interview. It is not going to speak. You have to speak, right? Because you need to talk about your experience. So that is going to be a biggest challenge. So it's a biggest misunderstanding. People think, okay, I have the experience and knowledge, so I will be get selected, and they can go and negotiate saying that this is what the market demands. No, that is the wrong assumption of a candidate. Because if you're in a comfort zone, and say that if you're not improving your communication skill, but yes, you have given a lot of importance to your technical skills, and you've learned, you've done so many things, at the end of the day, over the period of time, you will not only be interacting with the Indian stakeholder. Probably your business will expand to international countries, right, where you have to end up interacting with some stakeholders in the US, UK, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, and other countries. And what if you are not able to communicate? And I think that is where the issue arises. Because they are initially when they started, communication was not important, because they have been getting paychecks month on month, and they are very happy, and they're working on the project skills what their expertise at. But at the later stage of career, as they grow, which is going to help them is communication. That's why, as I rightly said initially, as Warren Buffett said, investing in communication is going to increase your value by 50%. So communication plays a major role. So you cannot rule communication completely. So that is very very important, especially at mid and senior level role. Communication plays a major key factor for your success in corporate, is what I would say, Yogeshwari.
Yeah. This is so powerful. And this brings me to a follow-up question. In your experience, you must have seen so many candidates walking in, staying in the company, and probably getting promoted within the company, moving out. All of these things you must have seen. And here is a question slightly on human psychology and behavior. So let us say you have had a set of candidates working in, joining your organization, staying over there. What is the ratio, or what is your experience in seeing people when it comes to upskilling? First, in a hard skill, is it easy for them to upskill in a hard skill, or is it easy for them to upskill communication once they have gotten into the job, they are stable and they are working? Which one do you think it is easy for them?
See, definitely, it again depends upon the background which they're coming from, right? Everyone has got different aspect. There is something called career progression, where you can go at a leadership level. Someone doesn't want to handle a team; they want to be individual contributor all along. So you have a career opportunity in hard skills in development as well, where you can end up being an architect, right? Where you need not to have a team and other thing. You can be an architect and you can work, but still in the architect, you might end up handling a team at the later stage, right? So communication plays a major role. I have seen some candidates who have joined, over the period they have improved their communication skills on their own, because they understood the importance of communication skill. Communication is what is going to take them to the next level. For someone who is really shy, he thinks that, no, for me, I'm very comfortable. I'm very strong with this communication. I'm not going to move out of this company. I'm in my comfort zone and I know what is needed. I can, even if this latest technology is coming like AI and other thing, I can learn, I can do it, but I don't want to focus on communication. They tend to stay in the same place because they will not have that exposure of what the person who is having with communication skill, because he might get an opportunity to travel abroad. Probably he will have an opportunity to interact with the clients who are based internationally, right? So I think that's going to play a key factor. Communication is very important, is what I would say. So I think it again depends upon the person. So it again depends coming from the management as well. It should come from top to bottom.
Mhm.
So management says that, you got to improve your communication, you got to focus on this thing because our clients are based out of this country, and obviously the team manager would give a heads up to him saying that, you need to improve. So every year they have the appraisal cycle, another thing, probably the feedback will be shared to them, right? So I think if they take it seriously and if they improve, then it's good for them, for them to grow in the corporate ladder. So some will take it seriously, some will say no, I'm happy with where I am. So it's all up to them. So I will leave it there.
Okay. Yeah, that important aspect that you just touched, which is the appraisal cycle, and every year, especially in the tech industry, this is one major thing that people look forward to. And in that appraisal cycle, what is the importance of communication as a head you would look for, and what the ratio that you would give for a technical skill and a communication, and how what kind of a feedback do you give to your people?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I told you, right? I mean, like, though I know what my team has done, I don't expect, they cannot imagine that, okay, my manager knows what I have done. I have the data, I have everything, but they need to translate the data into what they have achieved in terms of the entire year, so that they need to translate it, for which they need to have an effective communication. Otherwise, probably they might would have, for example, from talent acquisition point of view, I would say that some recruiter has closed 40 position or 50 position in a year, and he says that I have closed 50 position. Okay, I mean, it's not something great for me, but he need to translate saying what is that critical portion he has contributed. For example, you should be able to say, I have close to leadership level at this point with turnaround ratio, right? That kind of information is what we needed during the interaction, appraisal discussion. Rather giving numbers saying that I have closed 50 position for a year, and if you're going to keep quiet assuming that I know that this person has had a leadership role, it's not going to work out, it's not going to fly high, right? So they have to communicate, for which they need to be, even for example, say any company you join, Yogeshwari, what is the first thing you do in terms of negotiation and salary? You negotiate, right?
Yeah.
So you need to have effective communication, and if you are not able to do that in terms of communication, I don't think that you will get the desired results in terms of expected salary. So I think that's very important. I expect everyone to be, I mean, we are not expecting someone to be having a, say, UK accent or American accent or Australia or New Zealand accent. It's a very common thing. What we expect is they should be able to communicate effectively, is what we are looking at. They have the data, they should be able to translate that in the way in which it will be easy for management and also the leaders to understand what they have created, the impact during that year, in terms of talent acquisition phase. So
Yeah.
that's very important.
And here in this one point, I was able to understand that the communication that a leader, in this case you, are expecting is not about, okay, how many positions you have hired, how many positions you have done. Rather, you are expecting the impact that person is creating
Correct.
within the organization in order to understand what kind of a person, what intention or what mindset the person is working, and how well you can promote or recommend the higher management about that person. Am I right in this case?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's exactly what we wanted, because see, all based on appraisal, when you come, quite a lot of people come with data, right? They say, "Hey, you know what, I have done this for the entire year. I have done this for entire year." But people who are able to communicate effectively, saying, that's how they negotiate, right? Saying that this is the impact I have brought in. This is the requirement critical position which I closed, and it has created a lot of business impact for us, and I have closed this position with a quick TAT, turnaround time, and the candidate has joined in less time, and I mean, my offer versus joiner ratio is this. Excuse me.
Yeah, yeah.
These things plays a major role. Whereas someone who comes with the data and says, this is what I achieved, you tell me whom you will give more importance. Someone who is just presenting you the data and just going back, and rather someone is creating an, storytelling kind of thing, saying, this is what I have done, this is the impact I have created, this is what I have contributed for the business, this decision has led me to this. So whom you think you would be interested in?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
When I have the results in front of me, obviously I would go with the person who is sharing the impact, because for a for an organization, whether it is mine or the organization that I'm working for, impact matters of, all the time. Now,
absolutely.
you touched upon the storytelling aspect in communication, and I'll tell you the leaders that I'm working with, most of them, though we keep telling them storytelling is important and they have to help others understand, data and numbers are amazing to have, but in order to explain the data and numbers, they need to have a reason, cause, why, what, and everything. But they keep telling us that no, Yogeshwari, storytelling in corporate doesn't work. We just talk numbers. So, what is your opinion in that, Asrar?
No, I don't agree with that statement, like what they're saying. It again depends, because these days it's all about storytelling. And especially for my role at being a global talent acquisition leader, for me, I need to talk about my success story, right? I need to talk about how I've been with this organization for the last 7 years. So my story is more captivating for them, it might actually interest them to join, because I'm creating a story for myself. I'm sharing my example. I would say that, hey, I've been with this company for the last 7 years, and I've grown from manager to the director level. And the culture is phenomenal. And here, like, I had a fabulous opportunity in terms of challenging tasks. I have given a free hand in terms of building a process procedure. Another thing, rather than if I'm going to say, see, this is the kind of storytelling what you need to tell to a candidate. If, for example, say this version of this, hey, I'm Ashrar, like, I'm the director of talent acquisition, so would you be interested in joining? So how it looks, actually, which one is more interesting to you? You could probably you could tell me which is interesting.
Absolutely, the first one, because I remember my experience with you when you sat me down, when you shared me about the entire journey, your journey, and also you shared me about the founder. I was amazed and I thought, wow, this is a great place to work.
Yeah,
I would go with the storytelling model.
yeah, many of the companies, they don't even talk about what is the great thing they done, so that the people can join. Why they should join this company is what matters, right? Because that is where storytelling plays a major role, and your offer to joiners ratio is dependent on the storytelling. So you have to be genuine, you have to be very honest, because once they join, and if your story, what you're told in the past, is not matching, then probably it's not going to reflect good on you. So I think you have to be very honest with all your candidates. And you have to be very upfront, and you have to tell them that this is the expectation of our organization, or for this role, what we are looking for. So those things plays a major role. So storytelling is going to be very, very important. And I don't know what kind of leaders you've been working on, but maybe it at development level or thing, I agree. But it's very, very important that you create a storytelling that's very interesting.
Okay, yeah. Most of the leaders that I'm working on, they are technical, hardcore technical. And then after a certain point, they realize that, okay, right now, Yogeshwari, I have to move up in the ladder and I need communication. That's where they feel the realization that they need communication. And I feel after a certain point, it gets difficult to even have that acceptance. I have my technical skill, but in order to amplify and elevate my technical skill, I need communication. It gets difficult after a certain point, especially when they grow up in the leadership position. The acceptance itself is difficult, and that's slightly painful for me, I would say. And follow up, the last question that I'm going to have for today's podcast is, I've heard you and I've seen you giving presentations in multiple places. As a leader, how important is communication, especially when you are presenting in front of people? This is a redundant question, but still, I would like to listen from you.
Okay. So yeah, I had a lot of fun. Like, last week I was out, I was traveling with my family, and I was spending something. And like, so how do you find when I spoke like this? You asked me some question, but I'm just talking something else, right? So that's how. So
Wondering why? Why are you saying this?
Exactly. This is what I'm talking about. You should know the audience to whom you're going to talk about. For example, if you're going to talk to an audience who are younger generation, obviously they will, when you start talking, they will think, okay, he's a boomer, right? They have their own words,
Terminology.
jargon saying like, he's going to be boring and other stuff. So you need to get to that level. You need to understand what you're going to communicate and how you're going to communicate. And you probably might need to talk about the latest memes and probably another thing to connect with the audience. So for that, you need to be an effective communicator. It's not like something you just take the jargons and just put it forward, but it should connect with them. Is what very important. If you're able to connect with your audience, then I think your speech will be more successful. So that is going to play a major role. So you should know who is your audience, because getting their attention is very very limited, right? Especially with this generation, with mobile phones, smartphones and all those things. Even initially they had YouTube in our generation, but now Instagram is, they have to make a video less than 1 minute. So imagine you have to make a speech for half an hour, and they have to you have to get all their attention. Is going to be more challenging. So you need to bring a lot of humor. You need to talk about you need to know what they're expecting. At times what I do normally is I always go and interact with the student. Even before my speech, I ask them like, why you are here, what is that you're expecting from my speech. So I get few information, other thing, and then I get to know some of the names and other thing, and then I start interacting and do that. So for which communication plays a major role. Sorry.
No worries. It had some point.
So yeah, so that is where communication plays a major role.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This half an hour, I didn't know how did it even go. It feels like I'm just having this conversation with you only for 5 minutes. Your information, the knowledge that you shared with us is, I would say, it's priceless. Most of us, we keep thinking that hard skill is important, and we neglect the one skill that is going to amplify all the skills that we have, which is communication. And in your experience, you helped us understand how important communication is in each level, in the interview, in a presentation, talking with leaders, in appraisal as well. You touched upon that. Thank you so much. And I'm sure this particular conversation is going to help so many people to get better at their career, in their communication, and keep getting better in their leadership positions as well, growing higher and higher and achieving all their dreams. Thank you so much for being with us, Asrar, and giving us your precious time to me as well as to our audience.
No problem, Yogeshwari. Thank you so much for having me, and I'm also looking forward to many more discussion in the future. And I hope this session was very useful for those who think that communication is not important, right? But now they might have different perspective after watching this video. But I wish you and everyone all the success in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.